What's up, everybody? I am Casey Gilman, Church Administration here at Emmaus. You are?
I'm Bryan Holt. I'm the pastor.
Today, we were thinking kind of go over a little bit of your origin story, I guess, with Emmaus and overall. I know bits and pieces, but not really everything. So, I'm going to start off, how long have you been here? How long have you been pastor of Emmaus?
So, I've been the pastor for just over 10 years.
Wow.
I think I came in as the interim pastor for 6 months, and then I was officially made the pastor actually in February of 2013. So this February will be officially as the non-interim pastor 10 years. So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a whole decade,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild to think about.
That is crazy. So, what is a little bit of Emmaus' story?
So, Emmaus' story, as best as I know it, because I wasn't here.
Right.
But from what I've gathered over time, it's kind of a little bit of an interesting story. So, the building that we're in was built by another church, and I think it was the Powhatan Church of God. And then they grew and they built another building up on Academy Road, and this building was vacant for I think 2 years or so. And Lucky's Convenience Stores came and they wanted to buy this property and tear down the church and build a Lucky's. And there was I believe a zoning meeting where they were asking for the zoning for to change it from, I guess, religious to commercial. And a number of the people in the community said we don't want this to be a Lucky's, we want this to stay a church. And I think the way the story was told to me is one of the supervisors said, well, if you want it to be a church, then you need to start a church. And someone stood up and said, my husband is a Methodist minister, he'll be the pastor. And so that is kind of the starting point for Emmaus Christian Church. And then a number of people who were there who all had kind of common experiences with something called the Emmaus Walk. They kind of rallied around and they started the church here. Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
It was 1996.
1996. Okay.
Yeah, so it was quite a while. There's actually Donna Touchette was here then.
Okay.
There's a number of folks who were here that came shortly after, but I think Donna might be the only one who was here on the first day. Actually,
since day one.
When they got the key to the building, she and the pastor's wife were the first ones to see the inside of the building.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's not a normal church plant origin story for sure.
Makes it unique.
Yeah, for sure.
So what led you here? What led you and your family?
Well, I grew up, actually when we first moved to Powhatan, I lived on Calais Trail, which is just across 7-Eleven from Jude's Ferry, just a couple miles away from here. And, so I grew up in the area, and then in the 2000s, 2001 or so, my mom would come and play the piano here.
Oh, cool.
She got to know the pastor, and she would come play the piano for worship services and things. And then when the founding pastor retired, they were looking for a pastor for, I think, about 6 months.
Okay.
And I was not an applicant, but they had a lot of applicants.
Right.
And I came in just kind of on the backside of the person that they brought to come here was not affirmed by the congregation. So they were kind of back to square one. They were just filling the pulpit. I had been helping a church plant in Charlottesville, and it's kind of it's a God story for sure. So here's we were helping plant a church in Charlottesville. We were praying about moving to Charlottesville, and then we really felt like God was calling us to Powhatan. So we had been praying about planting a church in Powhatan. So we were meeting with a number of families that that we knew and loved and cared for us well. And so we had been praying about them, about that possibility. I had no clue how it was going to happen. But one of the things we prayed for, one of the first meetings that we had and we prayed for, I knew from my mom some of the things that were happening here at Emmaus. And so we actually prayed for Emmaus. And I was just kind of thinking I need to get to know more pastors in the area. So my plan was I was going to start attending a few churches in Powhatan, just kind of on a Sunday morning, because the church that I was leading worship at in Charlottesville met in the afternoons.
Right.
So I could,
interesting.
Yeah, so I could go to a church in Powhatan and then still go and lead worship in Charlottesville. So the first church that I had planned on coming to visit was Emmaus. And it was going to be, it was like the last Sunday in April. It was like April 28th or 29th. And we were going to come and visit. The week before that, I got a call from Arlene Booker. And she said, we're in the middle of, pastor search. We are just filling the pulpit. Your mom gave us your number and said you could come and fill the pulpit one Sunday. Yeah. And she asked me for the Sunday that we were going to come visit.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of like, well, I was going to come anyway, so might as well come and preach. So that's the first Sunday I showed up was the Sunday that we were going to come and visit. And that Sunday, they kind of asked if I'd be interested in being the interim. And then I came back and did some more Sundays, and then eventually went through the process and became the interim. Wow. And then 6 months later became full-time.
And so that was in pastor. 2012.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of have alluded to this, but I'm assuming 2012 was not the start of your career. So no. What were jobs that you did, and what was kind of like your main occupation before becoming a pastor?
So right out of college, I worked for a contractor, because my degree is in historic preservation. So I worked for a contractor. We worked on museums and historic homes.
Oh, cool.
We were based in Fredericksburg. We worked all over the place.
Yeah.
And I also, about a year after we got married, I became a worship leader at a church in Fredericksburg. So I was a worship leader on staff at a church as a part-time position for about 6 years.
Okay.
And then at some point I left the contractor and I started going, and I was a manager at a Chick-fil-A. Oh. So I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I'll try to make this faster. Then I was a superintendent for a masonry contractor in Richmond, because we decided we wanted to move back. And that's about 2007 or so. So I left Chick-fil-A and went to a masonry contractor, all the while still leading worship on Sundays, and then was starting to kind of feel all along there, feeling the pull towards ministry. Yeah. And then when we came to Richmond, I worked for the contractor for a year and a half, and then I went back to Chick-fil-A. So I've managed 2 different Chick-fil-A's for a total of 4 years. Okay. Which, how long did you work for Chick-fil-A?
A little over 2 years, like 2 years and 2 months.
So you've got
I relate.
Yeah, you understand.
I understand.
So then after that time, I did an internship at a church, and I'd begun to do work for Lowe's, doing the contracting, building decks and fences and installing doors and windows. So I've done a number of things over the years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's kind of an interesting ride. And then the first 9 years of being at the church here, I was bivocational, so I still built decks and all those things, and pastored the church. So
yeah, you became full time here just like a year ago, right?
Almost exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
And there's the phone ringing. Right, so I became full-time just over a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, because that's when we were here. We started coming a little over a year ago, so.
That's awesome.
It's neat. Thanks for sharing that story with us. it's nice to know a little bit more about the history of Emmaus, how y'all got to be here as well, and learn more about the church. And
yeah, I think it's been one of those things where God has sustained this congregation and really done a pretty cool work here at the church. You know, before I got here, he was doing things that were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that's it. Any other questions?
No, I think that's everything. Thanks for sharing, and hope y'all enjoyed, and let us know if you have any other questions.
All right. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.